everyone. If Rumi and Gibran were together and wanted to add to their dinner gathering, they probably would invite Michael Singer. Michael has dedicated his life for people to experience inner peace. He is the author of The Untethered Soul, translated in over 25 languages, and of which Oprah and many people have described as one of the most important books of their spiritual growth and development. Michael has continued writing best-selling books and inspiring people worldwide, sharing such wisdom as, the truth of the matter is, the state of your being is going to determine the quality of your life. Michael lives what he writes, and he is known to be selective when it comes to agreeing to interviews and podcast conversations. It is with great honor I introduce and welcome the insightful, extraordinary Michael Singer. Thank you for joining us on Little Star Light.
Thank you for having me, Andrea and Adriana and Karen. I'm happy to be here. You were right. I do not do many of these, but your story was so fascinating and the work you're doing is so beautiful that I couldn't say no.
Thank you so much. So how are you doing today?
Ecstatic.
Excellent. So continuing with your compelling story, which some people have known and held on to for their lifetime, it can be interesting to step away from success and choose what some may perceive as less appealing paths. You left economics and ventured into seclusion to focus on meditation and yoga. You co-founded a billion-dollar company. You taught spiritual courses at Santa Fe Community College in Gainesville, Florida. In 1975, just outside of Gainesville, Florida, you started the Temple of the Universe for people to experience inner peace. With back then and still today, all programs are free for the benefit of others. And that's just a snapshot of your life. Do you ever look back and go, wow, that is me. I have done all that and I'm still excited to do more.
I never think of it as me. I think of it as, look what happened. Okay, that's how I see life. It's unfolding in front of us. We have an opportunity of either resisting it or serving it. And I learned when I was young that it's best to serve it. It's bigger than we are, all right? Call it whatever you want, but life is a very powerful force. And I learned that I think it knows what it's doing. It didn't just create the universe and make 25 trillion cells in our bodies be able to talk to each other. So I've looked at life that way, and I look back at my life that way, that this is what happened, all right? And I tried my best to get out of the way. That's how I look at my past.
And with a life of service, which is certainly complementary to that. Now, I only bring up this part because I want audiences to know each step taken, whether others understand or approve of or not, are important and evolving, and eventually those steps can benefit others. That same Santa Fe Community College has one of the best zoology college programs in the country. I loved studying zoology there when I was rehabbing a pro tennis injury and researching my children's cancer foundation before playing in the Olympics. I felt called to give all my pro tennis earnings to start my children's cancer foundation and help others, now in its 38th year. Also with all programs available for free for the benefit of others, including a few programs with animals lifting the spirits of children. There's something special going on in that area, helping on the little and big steps. Check out Temple of the Universe. Michael speaks and teaches courses there too. So during many of your profound transformational decisions, who besides yourself believed in you that you enjoyed collaborating with? It can be human, God, mystical, universe. Anybody?
I would have to say everybody. I think that every interaction I've had with every single human being and every situation unfolded in front of me was beneficial for my awakening, for my growth. So are there people who had major influences? Right? Yes, I woke up to meditation at a very young age, or not young age, I was 22, 23 years old, but early in my life. And it has had a major influence, and the Eastern great masters, Eastern teachers have had a major influence in my life. But I really have seen that everybody has had a lot to do with my becoming who I am today.
That's a really important point, because so often when something happens that's like an ouch thing, people can blame or really get affected and it affects their whole life, rather than looking at it as perhaps it's part of my awakening. It was essential for the awakening part. So your Untethered Soul book for many became a movement among audiences that still continues today. Little Star Foundation's vice president has pages, paragraphs, and lines marked throughout your book from when it was published. And today, the VP still uses it for daily inspiration. The Surrender Experiment and Living Untethered are additional books you wrote for anyone interested in that awakening and evolving. You yourself read your audiobooks. So I love that, because your words can help bring those spiritual teachings to life. And so thank you for that. Some authors don't read their books, you do. And so it's almost like you're sitting with you and having this enriching, enlightening experience. So thank you for that. I have other questions, but Adriana is joining. As loyal Little Star followers know, Adriana played Division I tennis and pro tennis. Her scholarship program didn't allow her to take art classes, but she made sure to follow one of her life passions, and now she provides art therapy projects for blind and orphan children and children in hospitals. While she enjoys track motorcycle racing, Adriana took a trip to India long before we met to further learn about meditation and spiritual wellness in her life. And now Adriana joins.
Hi, Michael, again. Oh, what a beautiful painting behind you. That's, oh my goodness, the Van Gogh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Van Gogh.
To me, it seems like there are a lot of resources available to us on topics of meditation and practicing self-awareness, self-reflection to improve ourselves and therefore the world around us. It can be overwhelming. What would you suggest on how can someone begin to create a new habit of incorporating these beneficial practices into one's life?
My experience is that everyday life is the greatest teacher we will ever have. It's almost as if it's custom fit for us. Why? Because every one of us is sensitive to different things. Everyone has different problems. Everyone has different strengths. And when you interact with life, you're really interacting with yourself, right? So if somebody shows up and you like them, that's you, not them, all right? It's like, I don't want to get into it, right?
No, you should. You need to.
There's something about them that hits something inside of you that either caused your heart to open or your heart to close, okay? It is your heart that's doing it. The other person is a stimulus or a catalyst for that. And if they do something wrong, your heart closes. If they do something really right, your heart opens. That's you. That's not them. So that's true of every single thing in the world. Like some people say, find your passion. You are your passion. If your heart is open, you're passionate about what you're doing. If your heart is closed, you're not passionate about what you're doing. You're doing that. But then they say, go out and find something to work on that makes you passionate. I have learned that life is a mirror that will reflect back to you where you're coming from. Okay? I often tell people, I'm a romantic, all right? I tell people, don't tell someone you love them. Say, I feel tremendous love in your presence. Because that's the truth, all right? If you say you love them and do something you don't like, then you don't love them. It's not even funny, okay? But if you're honest and you say, for some reason, in your presence, my heart opens. That's beautiful, okay? So then you can work with yourself to say, I like this, I'll keep it open. So that basically what I have found is that life is a reflection of what's going on inside of ourselves. It doesn't mean everybody's creating their own universe. I'm not philosophical that way, I don't think about it. But it is true that you are experiencing the reflection of yourself. So if you're in an environment that your heart likes, you like the environment. And you say, life is wonderful. If you end up a situation happen in life that messed you up, you say life is messed up. No, life is life. And you are projecting your state of openness or closeness, your mental thoughts and patterns onto the situation unfolding in front of you. If that's true, and it is, even psychology agrees with me, or not just spirituality, right? Then your work is inside. If you want to have a beautiful life, let life teach you where you're not open. Let life teach you where you are open. And then learn are the things that I can do inside myself, both in the moment it's happening and when it's not happening. I can prepare myself. Like I always use the example of practicing tennis. I want to tell you, not because of you, all right? But because I tell people, if you have never picked up a tennis racket, you're going to hit it into the net. And that's good. If you keep it into the net, you'll learn how to not hit into the net. Okay? And you just keep practicing. And doesn't mean you'll be a star tennis player like you were, but you will get better. There's no such thing as not getting better if you practice. So what I've learned is life is a sport, and you're interacting with it, and it will teach you. You will learn how to stay open in times when you would have closed. That's just like adjusting your tennis racket. And so if you'll watch what's going on inside of you, and every moment of your life is your teacher, every moment. The driver in front of you frustrates you. They're driving 10 miles an hour below the speed limit, not using their blinker, they're stepping on their brake in weird times, all right? That's your teacher. Why? If you talk to that person, they don't hear you. You're wasting your time getting upset about something you have no control over, all right? So you can then step back and say, all right, time to learn how to be at peace, how to be open, how to be calm in a situation that doesn't particularly hit me the right way. Can I let go of myself, let go of the reaction? And you start catching on that if you will do that, you will be happier inside. Why? Because you're letting go of the things that disturb you. It's not so complicated, all right? In other words, if you keep your heart open, you will love everybody. But it's not that you love everybody, it's that you feel love in the presence of everybody because you decided not to close because they did this or did that or whatever it is. Okay? So that is what I have learned. And that's what I suggest. You can get all the teachings you want, meditate all you want, do whatever you want, right? If you will not learn to stay open in every moment of everyday life, you're not going to get there. If you learn to stay open in every moment of every life, which means letting go of yourself, letting go of your reactions and judgments and all that kind of junk that goes on inside, until eventually you're always high, always. People don't understand that. You're a very high being. You're filled with love, filled with joy. You don't need anything. It flows inside of you all the time. The great Master Yogananda said, there's a river of joy that flows inside of you. Go find it, go there, get in and drown. Okay? So that's how life is your teacher. You ask me what books, what this, what that, right? Read whatever you want, say whatever you want, make believe you know something. If you can't handle life, it's because you can't handle yourself. And if you will use life to let go of yourself, wait till you see where you go. And you take everybody with you, by the way. Some people say, well, it's selfish to meditate. No, it's not. If you open, you bring light and love into this world. And that is the highest thing you can do. All right.
So it doesn't matter what we take, what kind of book we pick up. If you meditation, whatever that is, life is a mirror. And whatever comes at us, we have the choice to decide how we approach it. And then you explained it beautifully.
There's no limit to how high you can get. Let's get this straight.
Got it. It's like a Mount Everest. We never stop climbing.
You're a very high being. It's amazing when you start realizing what's going on inside of you, and then it gets higher and higher and higher, and it will never stop.
Never stops.
Nice to know, isn't it?
It's incredible. It makes life beautiful, actually. In one of your interviews, you mentioned that you have not always lived your life the way you do today. When and what was your turning point for you that brought the change?
What I could put my finger on to say really strong transformational awakening moments, right? So one, I tell in the Untethered Soul, actually in the surrender experiment, is I was just a regular college. I was in graduate school, typical person doing my thing. And for whatever reason, people always ask me why. I can't answer why. It just happens. I was sitting on the couch with a friend of mine, with my brother-in-law at the time, and we were talking. And he was a big lawyer of Chicago, and I'm this little hippie boy going to college. And the conversation got quiet. There was nothing to say. It's an awkward moment. I saw it, that's how I felt, an awkward moment, right? It's nice when you're talking, you kind of feel everything's okay, all right? But there was nothing to say. And so it got quiet. And Michael, felt awkward. But the difference this time was I noticed that something inside of me felt awkward, that there was not a conversation going on. I wasn't awkward. It was awkward. And I was noticing it. I'd never done that before. Like I popped out, okay? And I was now back here watching a neurotic mind trying to think of something to say. Well, the weather was nice. You see what Nixon did today. Should we get some pizza? Would you want to go something to eat? And he kept saying it, but I didn't say it. I kept his mouth shut, all right? And I kept watching this neurosis of discomfort go on inside of me. And eventually, what I said to him was, have you ever noticed you have a voice inside your head that never shuts up, that keeps talking? Because that's what I was watching, a talking head, all right? And basically, he looked at me weird, and all of a sudden, I swear to God, this light went on in his eyes. He said, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Mine never shuts up. And that's been my life ever since. I'm like Johnny Appleseed. Have you noticed you have a voice inside of your head driving you crazy? and waking people up just to that. So that was the first awakening, right? That you're in there, but there's a mind in there. You're not it. You're aware of it. You're noticing it, right? Do you have thoughts? How do you know?
Oh my goodness.
I'm in here and don't worry about the thoughts. How do you know you have thoughts? I ask people, have you ever had a dream and woke up and said, oh my God, this dream I had. How do you know you had the dream? Were you in there watching? I thought you were asleep. You're a conscious being, and that consciousness sees objects of consciousness, and your thoughts are objects of consciousness. They're not who you are. There's just thoughts going on in there, right? Your heart, with its feelings and emotions, are objects of consciousness. You experience that your heart is open. You experience that it's closed. You experience that. You experience those things. Who does? That becomes the essence of what I got from that awakening. Is I'm in here. I don't know who I am, right? The rest of my life, who's in here watching? I can study what it's watching. I can not like what it's watching. I like what it's watching. Who is watching? So that was the first awakening. Then, not that long later, I woke up very quickly. I read something called the 3 Pillars of Zen. And Zen is very strict. And I had no background in religion or spirituality or anything. But I wanted to know what that voice was. And I wanted to know why it didn't shut up. And somebody gave me this book, and I realized that's what they're about. They're about shutting up that voice. Zen is extremely strict, right? Discipline, meditation. And I didn't have a teacher. I never had a teacher. I just moved out to the woods and started doing this up to 6 hours a day. I would do Zen walking and meditating and mantra and just everything, all right? I was committed to finding out who's back here watching all that mess, all right? And that was and then I had this experience where I meditated once soon after the first experience. And I talk about it in the surrender experiment. I went very, very deep. Ridiculous. And I look back, that's ridiculous that you had that deep of a meditation, 2 months, 1 month after you learned to meditate. Okay. And it woke me up completely to realize you're the most beautiful thing I've walked, not me. You are the most beautiful thing I've walked the face of the earth, right? Christ, Buddha, all these beautiful beings told you that. But I had an experience. I didn't go all the way back, but I had an experience to say, OMG, are you kidding me? That's inside of me. And I'm running around trying to get relationships and money and be successful and be a professor and write. What, are you crazy? Why would I do that if it's inside of me? Why am I not doing that? So that was the next major awakening. Then I moved out of the woods, meditated, and did all that discipline stuff all the time. And the next major moment was I realized, wait a minute, I'm the one who's forcing him to meditate. I'm the one who wants it to be quiet. I'm the one who's freaking out because a dog, I'm in the middle of the woods and a dog's barking. It bothers me, right? I'm not really getting anywhere. I'm just carrying this mess and changing what it's doing, all right? I need to surrender myself to something stronger than myself so that I'm not listening to myself. Because if I'm listening to myself, I'm in charge, all right? And I knew that I had to go past that, all right? The experience I had woke me up to that. And I don't know, call it God, call it whatever you want. Something in that moment realized I do have something that's stronger than me, life. I can't control life. I can't control the dog barking. I can't control the fact that somebody says something I don't like. I tried to for a long time, all right? But I realized I need to let go of him. And you know what I mean by him? That talker in there, that person who thinks they know what they're doing, and all its concepts and views and opinions and hopes and dreams.
Call it a little I.
Yeah, the little I, right? And I'm going to try this experiment of letting life unfold in front of me. I don't have a choice anyways. It's always unfolding in front of me. All I can choose is either I like it or I don't, all right? But it's going to unfold in front of me anyways. You understand that, okay? One of the Beatles once said, life that happens to you while you're busy making other plans. That's a true statement. So I stopped making other plans. And as life interacted with me, I tried to let go of the reaction that I had and try to serve, which you guys are expert at, try to serve the energy that was unfolding in front of me. Now, it can be serving children with cancer, it can be serving this, it can be serving people or it can just be serving the moment in front of you, right? It doesn't have to be some big charitable thing, all right? I eventually reached the point of understanding at the highest life you can live is that every moment that passes before you is better off because it did. You can't live a higher life than that. Do you understand what I said? Mm-hmm. Every moment that unfolds in front of you is better off because it unfolded in front of you. You raised it some, you smiled, you said something nice, you did something to serve the moment in front of you instead of serving yourself, okay? And that causes you to let go of yourself. That causes you to, like the little guy in there, to get him out of the way, because otherwise he's trying to make the moment be what he wants, so he feels better. and doesn't feel worse. You have to let go of that. To me, I'm a nice Jewish yogi, but I don't want to say it. I love Christ. Christ's teachings are just the epitome of all spirituality. Newsflash, right? You think it should be, right? He said you have to die to be reborn. That became a reality to me. I don't care how other people interpret it. I knew what that meant. It meant I have to let go of him in order to experience what's higher than him. And so I used life, and that was the next great awakening, and it's been that way ever since. And this business came, and this came, and all kinds of things. Temple got built, books got written. That's because I served the moment coming in front of me. I never thought about a business. I never had meetings. I never got venture capital. I never thought about writing a book. Nothing, right? Oprah once asked me, well, why did you write the second book, right? She liked the Untethered Soul, the third book. She said, why did you decide to write another book? I stopped for a second. I said, because I had something to say. I didn't decide to write a book. You write a book when you have something to say. Otherwise, you don't write a book. But it was years, right? And so that long answer, but there's an answer to your question, right? Which is what awakenings took me to what I do now, which is to let go. I just let go and serve, just like you guys do.
Andrea and Karen and I, we are often asked that, yes, you served, let's say, more in a direct way. And it brings me extreme joy to be able to do that. And I feel very grateful and blessed. And when others say, well, I just work as a car mechanic or I am a waitress, and like, it makes no difference. If it brings you joy and you share that with others, that's what really matters. So whatever lights you up and you feel the happiness, that's how I feel. You serve in so many different ways. So I'm so glad you said that. And that life will throw things at us constantly, every second, every moment. And we do have the choice, like you said, and we have the choice to decide how we are going to react. It's extremely challenging. It's like a Mount Everest every day.
Let's have Karen join. So everyone has a special story. Karen had childhood cancer, 2% chance of survival, and is a Little Star Foundation alumni, still helping our children's cancer programs. She is way, way, way more than that. Knowing Karen since a child with cancer, I'm so very proud to introduce Karen's kind and caring ways.
Hi, Michael. It's a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for being with us today. I do have some questions for you. One of them was, I was watching some of your interviews, and in one of them you point out that we should find out what do we really want. So this kind of reminded me of the story of Solomon. So in 2 Chronicles 1:7, that night God appeared to Solomon and said, "What do you want? Ask and I will give it to you." And then Solomon's response was wisdom, to be able to lead his people, and God was pleased with that answer. So Michael, if God were to ask you that question, what would your response be?
He simulated a story that someone once told me, and I'm going to answer with telling that story because it's very, very beautiful. It's called the story of the Shadow Saint. All right. In this particular case, it's Eastern stuff, and so Shiva, Lord Shiva. All right. This guy was a great devotee of the Lord Shiva, who happens to be the god of boons. He grants boons. All right. And so this guy's meditating all these years, and all of a sudden Shiva shows up. It could be anybody, it could be Christ, anything. I'm just using Shiva. Shiva shows up and says, "I'm so pleased with you. You're so devoted. You're so sincere, right? I want to grant you a boon, right? That's what I do. I'm the granter of boons, all right?" And the guy said, "No, what greater boon could I have than to have you visit me and be able to see God and just the love of my life and so on, right?" And so basically, like I said, I could use Christ. Maybe it's better for the West, right? But basically, the guy said, "No, I don't want a boon. I don't want anything." And Shiva said to him, "Well, listen, I'm the granter of boons, and I have a trident. And if you don't ask for a boon, I'm going to stick you with a trident, all right? And you make me very unhappy. You have to ask for a boon." So the guy finally said, "I'll ask for a boon, but I'll only do it if you grant me 2 boons." And so right away, the Lord says, "Oh, here he is. Here's the greed coming, right? He's so selfless, but he wants 2, all right?" I said, "Okay, all right, I'll grant you 2 boons." And he said, "All right, the first boon I want, right, is I want you to bless my shadow. Bless my shadow so that wherever it falls, the lonely find solace, the sick get healed, the old feel rejuvenated, and it just brings joy and health and peace and blessing wherever my shadow falls. Well, the Lord says, oh my God, it's so humble. You're not asking for anything for yourself. Of course, I'd be happy to bless your shadow and make it through all that. He said, no, you promised me a second boon. And now God said, okay, now here it comes, right? What do you want? He said, I want you to make it so that I'm always facing the sun, so I can never see the work that my shadow is doing. Okay? So basically, that's how I would answer God if he asked me, what do you want? All right? Just make it so I can bring love and peace, but I don't want to know about it. I don't want ego getting involved. I don't want to build a self-concept about it. All right? So, do you like the story? That's the story of the shadows thing.
Wow, that's actually amazing, because only you would ask that. If God were to ask me, I would like, I would say stability. Yeah. But no, that's very kind of you. I mean, it's a calling for you. And I think that's just amazing. Not everyone can do that, to be honest. Okay, so my next one is, if you could meet anyone, past or present, who would it be and why?
I am madly in love with the perfect masters. All right? Christ, Buddha, in my case, Yogananda, Ramakrishna, some of these great beings that were, Ramakrishna, most of you don't know him, all right? He was so in love with God, seriously. He lived in the late 1800s. If he heard God's name, it wouldn't matter whether it was Christ, Mary, Krishna, Buddha, any of them. Every hair in his body would stand on end, and uncontrollable tears would pour out of his eyes. He was so far gone that, they live in ashrams and they have devotees, right? And they have different jobs called seva in the East, right? They're different jobs. You wash the dishes today, you do this, you do that. Every single day, one of the disciples was given the job of walking behind the master. What kind of job is that? At any point, he would see something to make him think of God. His arm would go up, his eyes would roll up, and he'd fall over backwards and stay in that state of ecstasy for days at a time. That started when he was 6 years old. Okay? There. I want to meet them. How about you guys?
Okay? Absolutely. Live amongst them.
The great lovers of God, right? That they're just intoxicated with spirit. They can't even do anything else. They're just, oh man, that's beautiful.
Wow.
There, I answered you. I have weird answers, don't I? All right?
No, not at all. No, they're very interesting answers, because it's kind of like out of the box,
I'm out of the box, believe me.
Out of the box, yes. No, I really love your answers. Thank you for sharing. And one last question. When a problem arises in your life, how do you cope with it? How do you, it's maybe something out of your means, out of your control. Do you get mad? Do you react to it? Do you cry?
Well, I would suggest that you read The Surrender Experiment, because the last section of The Surrender Experiment talks a little bit about something like that, like in spades. So, but in general, the answer is, you do not have problems. You have growth experiences. You have opportunities to let go of yourself. All right? And that, it's not easy, right? By definition, it's not easy, right? Your personal self, that's what I call it. They call it the little I, the personal self, that only thinks about you, which is how everybody is, okay? Except for the great ones. You only think about you, is going to have problems when things are not the way it wants it to be. Big problems, little problems, doesn't matter, right? If you're getting what you don't want, you have a problem. If you're not getting what you want, you have a problem. Therefore, you're full of problems, okay? Everything's a problem. If you understand that that's never going to stop. Like, I've met some very, very wealthy people, billionaires. If you are number one on the Forbes list of the richest man in the world, and next year you're number two, you have a problem. I'm telling you, it bothers you. Do you understand that? Okay? If you're number one tennis player, right, and you win the whole thing, okay, Triple Crown, whatever it's called, I guess that's horse racing, all right? Show my ignorance, right? And basically, then the next year you don't, it bothers you. You understand that? You just get attached to getting what you want, but you don't always get what you want. Therefore, you're not going to be okay. Eventually, you catch on that getting what you want is way overrated. It doesn't work. How do you know? Have you ever gotten what you want? Did you ever want something else after that? It's not fulfilling. It's just a momentary compensation for the fact that you're not okay. I'm not okay. I'm lonely. I met somebody. Great. Let's see how it works out. Hey, that's why we have marriage counselors, all right? So I didn't say divorce. I usually say divorce, but we have marriage counselors to help work it out. It's not the way it's not going to be the way you think it's going to be. Why? Because you're very complicated, and so are they, and so is everything. So if you buy into the fact that life is about getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want, you will not have a life that's even close to what you're capable of. If you catch on that there's a reason I'm not okay. I don't need these things. I need them because I'm not okay. Why am I not okay? And in a 2-second answer, you have suppressed every single thing that ever bothered you. You held it inside of you. Go to a high school reunion and see how you interact with the people that you used to interact with 30 years ago. You understand that? You still kept it inside of you. If you're going to store everything inside that ever bothered you, you're going to be bothered. It's that simple. If you will let go of that stuff and not put any more in, you're going to find the rush of holy waters. They're going to find a constant, not once in a while, not when you're in church or temple or synagogue, constant upward rush of energy that's feeding you from inside constantly. All right? So that's how you deal with your problems. How? If something's still left that can interfere with that flow, thank God it showed up. Because I don't want anything to be left that can interfere with that flow. So I'm going to use it. Doesn't mean it's easy, right? Doesn't mean you're good at it, but you practice all the way up, just like you practice tennis or the piano, so that you're ready to handle these things from a transcendent, detached point of view, where you don't push them away, because if you push them away to protect yourself, they're going to stay in there. And psychology teaches cope. Spirituality does not teach cope. Cope means I got problems, but I can handle it. Spirituality says there are no problems. There's just you not being able to handle the reality of what life is unfolding in front of you. So if something happens, small or big, now big people aren't ready for, so I teach, start with the small stuff. The driver in front of you, the fact that it's raining when you don't want it to, is real earth-shattering things, all right? But you do bother yourself about that stuff. Why does it have to rain on my birthday? It doesn't know it's your birthday. Hello, right? And so you start being more disciplined with yourself, practicing being okay with reality. That's the key. Are you okay with reality? Because if you're not going to be okay. Okay? So you keep letting go of the part of you that thinks it has the right to drop down here on Earth. I can't help it, right? 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. Do you know that? 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And the sun is one of 300 billion stars in one galaxy. And there are 2 trillion galaxies. And you're freaking out because the driver in front of you didn't use his blinker. Give me a break, right? You have to wake up and realize, if I'm going to do that, I'm not going to be okay. Like one of the things when I did the new book, Living Untethered with Oprah, she's very sharp. She pulled out one of the most important lines in the book. All right? The moment in front of you is not bothering you. You're bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. Do you understand that? If you didn't bother yourself about it, you wouldn't be bothered. Do you understand that? Anything, eventually everything. Okay? We are bothering ourselves about everything that's happening. How about we learn not to? That's better than playing tennis. That's better than playing the piano. It's learning to play the deepest, greatest thing inside of you. And what happens if you stop being bothered by things, amazingly, you stop being bothered. All right? And then you allow this energy that's natural. It's inside of you always. All right? It will start rushing up inside, and eventually it's intoxicating. And then you get to the point where bring it on. If there's anything left inside of me that can distract me from this ecstasy that's going on inside, bring it on, God. Don't worry, He will. That's why you're here. Earth is the place the souls are sent to evolve. Okay? Are you evolving? Or are you trying to not evolve by making everything be the way you want it to be so you don't change? Karen, did that answer your question?
Ooh, that did answer my question. Now I'm gonna You make it sound so easy, so I'm gonna have to practice that every time I'm bothered. I'm like, reality is hitting me.
If you read the new book, Living Untethered, it's much more compassionate. It says, start with the low-hanging fruit, the things you can't control anyways, the weather, the driver in front of you, all right? And practice letting go. Practice this act of relaxing in the face of it. It would have closed you. You just relax. Allow it to be and relax. Just lean back away from it. Don't push it away, but you don't have to get pulled into it. It will learn to let go. And you will have learned how to stay open when you would have closed. That's a very great thing. That's true spirituality, right? And it happens to be the teaching of Christ, all right? That to learn to let go of yourself so that you can serve others, all right? So you can do it with the simple things. The next thing you know, something bigger will happen. One of my favorite things that somebody would say to me, everybody's got these spiritual experiences they want to talk about. To me, if you're talking about it as an experience you had, Mazel tov, congratulations, thank you. I'm interested in your state of spirituality, not in some experience you had, okay? So somebody once said to me, I was at work, and something happened at work, and when I was driving home, I thought, that would have bothered me a year ago. I would have freaked out. I didn't even notice it. That's spiritual growth. You understand that? You change, you transmuted these energies inside of you so that you're not being distracted by, again, remember, you're being distracted by one spot on a planet that 1.3 million fit inside one star. What's wrong with you? How can you tolerate that? That's so little. I don't even talk about it, right? So you learn to let go. You learn to let go. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great advice. I'm going to definitely keep that one close to my heart.
Okay, so being a neuroplasticity fan myself, Little Star Foundation programs have showcased that for nearly 40 years. Anyone can incorporate that in their life. In what you state, when you have an automatic or negative response, replace it with a positive. So often children with cancer and anyone of any age and circumstance are told what they can't do. We remind them of what they can do. Same for children in hospitals, orphanages, and schools. Regardless of their disease, trauma, or circumstances, living full as possible. And so rather than ask my question, I have another one after this, but I'm going to let Adriana ask hers because I think her question.
Oh my goodness.
Her question will answer the same thing I would have asked at this moment. So go ahead, Adriana, finish up with your last question.
So Michael, what steps or advice would you suggest to someone who has been stuck in the same circumstances for a very long time without any improvement, whether it's a career, family situation, relationship, or life in general, and they feel like there is no way out?
The problem is that I have a problem, and it's always been that way. I have to answer every question anybody asks me from the deepest place I've ever understood. I don't bring it down to say, well, you're not ready for that. I never do that sort of thing. And I find out that people are more able to listen to deeper stuff than you think they are. And even if they're not right then, they come back years later and say, that thing you said to me, I didn't understand at the time, but boy, I needed it, blah, blah, blah. So that's just my commitment, all right? So to answer your question, the first thing you do is to say, there may not be a way out, but there's a way in. And in is better than out. Out is a compensation. Like you started to say, how can I find a new relationship? How can I find a better job that turns me on? Those are all compensating for the fact that you're not okay. If you were okay, you wouldn't be saying that. You understand that? If you were filled with love, peace, and joy, and God, or whatever you want to call it, inside, whatever you were doing would be wonderful, right? You just, that's what you're doing. That's where I am. I'm serving. Let's say you're in a bad relationship. Well, you can help the other person, but I don't like it. You got rid of the I. If you let go of the part of you that closes because of how somebody else is, next thing you know, you're bringing light into that relationship. You're bringing light into that situation, okay? But that means being willing to let go of yourself first, to be willing to sit there and say, what is my part in not liking my job? What is my part in not liking the relationship? What is my part in not being able to give where it's being asked of me, all right? And you do your best to let go of, because you'll see that part. You'll see it. It'll come up every time that person does something or every time your boss does something right. You're going to see yourself get weird. I like calling getting weird, right? You start to do it like this. You start getting weird, right? But that's you. Not everybody reacts the same way. That's you. Those are patterns you have stored inside of you that because your mother was this way, your father was this way, your uncle was this way, or your first boss was this way, your first relationship, your first of 5 divorces was that way, okay? And the next thing you know, it's hitting your stuff. You know, I've used those words. Can I say that? It's hitting your stuff. You have a choice. Either try to get into an environment that doesn't hit your stuff, or try to let go of your stuff. People don't know they can let go of their stuff. That stuff, there's no glue inside. There's nothing solid inside of you. It's etheric. It's open, all right? What's stuck inside of you is because you use your will. Will is a tremendous power to resist things that you didn't like. So they stayed inside of you. Now they get hit by different things. If you didn't do that, you'd be like my Ramakrishna guy. He was filled with ecstasy all the time. We'd have to stand behind you, right? All right? And so the first thing you do is look to see, what am I doing inside of me that maybe I can let go of and work on letting go of, and use this situation. And I'm sure you all know the name Ram Dass. He used to say, use it to go to God. That's the highest thing you can do with anything. Use it to go to God. Use it to grow. Now, if they're not capable of doing that, that doesn't land on anything fertile to grow. Okay? Then you look to see, first you look to see, is there anything I can do to help the situation? And you're going to see, if I could let go of myself, I could do better in a situation. Once you've done your best, that's all I ask. Your best is always good enough. Do you understand that? Your best, it's not about the results. It's about what you go through to do your best, right? Whether it be getting ready for the Olympics, you just do your best. That's more important than whether you got the medal. You understand that? Because you changed, you grew, something very great happened, all right? Sports is that way and life is that way. So you first let go to the best of your ability. Then you look to see, is there something I'm supposed to be doing? Not for me, not because I'm not okay, but it's something I am supposed to be doing in this situation. It may be that this person is impossible to live with and it's destroying this, that, and the other thing, but you don't do it because you're not okay, right? Because you'll just get into another relationship. So there's some reason you attracted that person to you. There's some reason you still have to go through something that is causing you so much trouble. I see it all the time. They jump out of the frying pan into the fire, right? But still, you have compassion, understanding people need help, and they do sometimes need to make changes. But do the best you can. So you grew to the best you can in that situation, right? And then if you make a change, be wise enough to understand, I got to be careful that I don't go to the same place inside of me where I went. In other words, some people say, I don't ever want to marry a divorcee because they don't have a successful relationship. It may well be that's exactly who you want to marry because they learned why they didn't have a successful relationship. Do you understand that? And they're more capable of having a successful relationship now because they don't want to fall in those patterns. There, you want to be that person. You want to be the person that is willing to change yourself to the best of your ability and then learn from the situations you weren't able to handle. Okay? We have examples of very great beings who went through some serious stuff. I won't mention his name right now. Right? Went through some serious stuff and showed you surrender, let go, right? And forgive them, Lord, they don't know what they do. I mean, that's some pretty high stuff, okay? We may not be ready to do that right now, but that's where you're going. Do you understand that? You're going to the point that you can let go of yourself to the point that's all that's left is your union with God. Man was created in the image of God. That doesn't mean God's got 2 arms and legs. That means God was created in the image of man, right? Your consciousness, your inner being is of spirit. And if you'll keep letting go, you're going to find out how beautiful that is.
So when you mentioned that be your best self, I want to make sure audiences know, because I was a professional tennis player, but victory was often for me in service, being my best self in that. So sometimes it wasn't about the win. It was about what could become. So when you go towards your best self, know that God and the universe may have your best self as different from what someone else perceives. And that's, again, what you're talking about, the peace within, like knowing that is important. And so I briefly mentioned how in the Little Star Foundation's VP's office and home, since your Untethered Soul came out, she had your books and workbooks, and they're well worn, as all of us probably have had as well. But what I do find really fascinating about you is, well before you wrote the Untethered Soul, you actually wrote 3 essays on universal laws.
Okay.
I have been grateful how universal laws have governed and guided my path since a child. I connect deeply to them, especially on motive and intent. And you touched on this, and this is super important in life. And maybe professional athletes might have a step up on this because we're honed to practice and to repeat and practice and train and do that over and over. But it is a lifelong adventure. And when you're in love with life, like people used to ask me when I was younger, like, what are you doing? Like you gave all your money to help kids with cancer. Like you're going to end up broke and they're going to die. And it was just, they didn't understand the awakening that I saw within it, that here was what I was to do. And so for me, I would always respond, that I was in love with life and this is the service that God has called me to, and I'm excited about it. And so I get all exuberant and they just walk away shaking their head going, she's exuberant about that. And so it's a lifelong process, and it's with motive intent, even when you're training and practicing it daily, it can have turbulence. Spiritual matters require training and practice. And so I'm really grateful that you mentioned that it's not even a line. It's an internal breath and heartbeat of what you mentioned. And this is from you in one of your books and teachings. It's that the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. And so that's kind of like, if something's bothering you, you're creating the turbulence. It's, and that's really super important. And so I just want to, I know Adriana has one more question. So Adriana, go for it. Go for your question. And then I have one.
Okay, this is a different question, but I'm curious about this. So we talked about the challenges and how we can approach them. And then what do you think about, Michael, about how can we manifest a sort like, let's say we are somewhere where we would like to improve upon, and can we do something about it in a more spiritual manner?
Obviously, that's a question after reading the Serenity Experiment that a lot of people ask me. And it's a very beautiful question. But like I told you, I answer everything at the deepest level I've ever experienced. All right. So my first question is, how do you know what to manifest? First of all, can you manifest? Yes. Yes. There's a law of attraction. Of course there is. Of course you can manifest. Right. What goes out comes back. Yell at somebody, they'll yell back at you. Right? Okay. Seriously, there are things you can do that affect what comes back. All right. So can you send out energies, visualizations, the law of attraction, and manifest and so on? Yes. All right. Now, I have a question to ask you. How do you decide what you want to manifest? Because I can tell you, I don't know you that well, but I'm answering everybody. Where you're not okay, your mind is telling you, if this happens, I'll be okay. You understand that? And I'm talking about even serving others, right? I don't feel meaning in my life, so I want to start a foundation. Okay, I'm going to manifest a foundation. That's beautiful, right? But why are you doing that? Why? How do you decide to do that instead of something else? Because I'm not okay. I don't feel whole. I don't feel complete. I don't feel in communion with God all the time. Whatever you mean by God, I don't care, right? I don't have that, and I want it. Therefore, I'm needy. Okay? Therefore, my mind thinks, can I think of something that if it were to happen, I think it would make me be okay? Do you hear all the thinks in there? Okay? So that's my question about manifestation, is how do you decide what to manifest? I wonder if anybody decided, if I could just have the perfect husband or wife and 2 kids, right? And live in Hawaii, right? And then have the husband that leaves them. They were perfect, but they left them. The kids are nothing but a problem, doing drugs all over the place. And Hawaii just had caught on fire and had volcanoes. How you doing? Oh, that's not what I had in mind. You understand that? Your mind is thinking of these things and saying, if they happen, I'll be okay. What I'm saying is, there's a reason you're not okay. You're not okay because you don't have a relationship. You're not okay because you don't have a nonprofit. You're not okay because people don't clap when you come in the room. That's your attempt to compensate for the fact that you're not okay. Do you see the difference? Why are you not okay? Because I know you are okay. I know you're the highest thing ever walked the face of the earth. There's pure joy welling inside of you, but it's blocked. How did it get blocked? Why would I block love? Why did I block joy? Because you can't handle the things that happen to you. Throughout your life, things happen, you suppress them. Or like Freud talks about repression and suppression. I just say resistance. You resist them, don't you? You don't have to suppress them. Just resistance, it stays in there. Somebody doesn't say hello to you when you walk by them one day. You see them the next day, I'm telling you, something goes on inside of you. You feel uncomfortable because you resisted it, you kept it inside. How about, in order to be okay, we learn to let go of what's making us not okay, right? Instead of out there trying to compensate for the fact that we're not okay. And that's the spiritual path, all right? If you do that and you're letting go, first learn to not put more in there. That's the first thing you do. Go through a day without resisting, without keeping stuff. I'm not a Bible reader. I read the Bible once in my life in 71, but I'm talking, right? Christ said, don't go to bed without working out your problem with your neighbor. All the teachings are the same. Buddha taught the same thing, all right? You are building stuff inside of you that will cause you to be closed and be reactive. And now you're deciding, what can the world do that will make me I'm okay even though I'm not okay? I would much rather have you work on letting go and not putting more stuff in there. Now become filled with love and joy. You don't have to think about manifesting. Do you understand that? The law of attraction, when you're emanating light and love, you fight them off with a stick. Okay? You don't have any trouble with anything. All right? Again, it's funny. It's probably because she's a nun. She's causing this to happen. All right? The Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. What the people that are pushing the law of attraction and manifestation, they forget the first part. Learn to make all things be added unto you. It's the law. It's the world of abundance. You should have everything. No. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things. In other words, let go of yourself. You hear me? Let go of yourself, because that's how you find God. That's how all this beauty happens inside of you. And wait till you see what happens. It will all come to you.
So once you reach this point where you just don't feel like you need to be doing that, asking for more and more, where do you find joy in everything around you?
Wait. First of all, if you don't need anything, it's because you're fulfilled. When you're not fulfilled, if I don't have food, I need food. I'm not fulfilled. If I feel lonely, I'm not fulfilled. If I feel fulfilled, that is joy. I'm fulfilled because I'm feeling joy. I'm feeling love. I'm feeling inspiration. And then people say, well, then just go stay home. No, I'm going to stay home. Why? Love loves to express itself. Passion loves to express itself. Creativity loves to express itself. Now I'm not doing it because I need something. I'm doing it because of the beauty. You can't not. How you like that? You can't not. It's a natural thing. You have to look for anything. A flower blows you away. A bird goes, and you literally are blown away. You look up at the sky, and the stars are not twinkle, twinkle. They're God's infinite, right? 300 billion stars in one galaxy. There's 2 trillion galaxies. You can't even see straight. It makes you cry all the time. So you're always expressing the beauty. You can't stop it, but it's not, they always say it's not about doing or not doing. Have you ever heard the Easter teachings, right? This is what that is. It's about being. If you be, it happens. You don't do it, and you don't not do it. There's nothing, you don't have any preferences. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. It's one of the deepest lines ever written, the third Zen patriarch, all right? But people say, how do I have no preferences? By letting go of the cause of preferences. You have blocked your flow of energy, therefore you don't feel whole. So you develop preferences. If you will stop blocking yourself and let go of what's already in there, there will be no preferences. There will just be ecstasy sharing itself with what's unfolding in front of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea, too.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to show, I don't know if you can see, I do have a whole wardrobe of Santa. So, and for people to know, this is so interesting. That's what I know about your history and love this. Santa Fe Community College, they're called the Saints. So the shirt is the Saints. And so certainly you represent that for people. And so I want to thank you. You have dedicated your life for people to experience inner peace, and that's noble and profound. But more importantly, you're genuine, authentic, sincere, and helpful. And so thank you for that, for helping provide those eternal, memorable experiences for people worldwide. So I look forward to getting back to Gainesville, and I look forward to visiting your Temple of the Universe. I'm definitely going to get there. I will be there.
All of you. Not just her.
I hope so.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. And blessings for all that you do, and certainly blessings and hugs to you. and for all those that have had, just the honor to embrace the sparkle that you and the light and love that you shine always. So I really appreciate it.
I'm very honored with your questions. You're very deep people, and I love it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again.
Bye.
All right.
Thank
Blessings.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.